Hello and welcome to My Family Empowerment. And today is Marketplace Monday. I am so excited because I have an amazing guest today. She's doing so much great work in our community, and I'm sure everywhere else she goes. And so we're going to be having a good discussion today. It's none other than the executive director and founder of ProActiveGR. I was going to say it the other way because I saw your email. I was like, GR, ProActiveGR. I'm like, okay. But whatever it is, she's doing fabulous work. And I'm so glad we just had a brief conversation about the meeting she just come out of to jump into this meeting. So you already know how her schedule flows. So Miss Harris, tell us a little bit about yourself, your organization, because we all want
All
to know.
right. Well, good morning, good afternoon. I'm Kathi Harris. I am the founder and executive director for ProActive. ProActive is an acronym for People Reaching Out, Actively Coming Together, Increasing Voter Empowerment. We started this organization 20 years ago. We started under the umbrella of my A. Philip Randolph chapter here in Grand Rapids, which is a national labor organization under the AFL-CIO. It's their senior constituency group. And because I was a UAW member, United Auto Workers, um, having responsibility of doing work in the community and being a part of other organizations, A. Philip Randolph was our number one organization that we had to affiliate with, that we should affiliate with as a union member, because of it being a labor organization. But with that being said, I had to wear so many different hats. Being a UAW member, being an A. Philip Randolph member, being a member of our church, being a member of the community and NAACP and several other organizations. And our mission was, for me, the mission was always the same, of reaching out to our community and helping those that needed someone to help them. And so pulling all that together, I came to with the idea of creating ProActive. It was me bringing some community leaders together and coming up with a name, ProActive, to work on the election. We at that time, people didn't want to be affiliated with either party. We had to protect the churches, some of the Greek organizations from their 501c3. So we said, let's do this as a nonpartisan organization. And so for 20 years, we didn't have our 501c3 up until 2020. But we did the work, and we focused in on those neighborhoods that had low voter turnout, those marginalized communities, and we just did the work. We focused on the presidential elections, but we found out over the years that was an important election, but the local elections was just as, if not more, important. And so then we started getting into doing all the elections. Every cycle we're out here doing something. And so we just do the work. And we've been doing that, like I said, for 20 years since ProActive was created. And we have increased numbers. We've increased the attitudes. We've done a lot of educational series. We take people to the polls. We monitor the polls. We do a lot of canvassing and phone banking and all the work that we do. And it's almost like we're doing it year round, because it's something now, especially, it needs to be done. And so we just continually do that work. Outside of doing the get out the vote efforts, we do some community things as well. Our office space that we've obtained since August of 22, it's in the unhoused community. And we made so many relationships with the people in this neighborhood that we found that it was important for us to stay here. So we stayed here and we help them in whatever way we can. And I tell people that we do non-traditional work. Every day is a new day here.
Yeah.
We try to follow rules. We follow enough to stay out of trouble, because we're helping people in a different kind of way. I realize there's shelters and there's, unhoused, there's apartments, there's things around us, but we have to do things differently because everybody don't qualify the way that they want them to qualify. So they come to us needing that extra help, that extra step, that extra word, or whatever it is that they need on a daily basis. We open up our door and we help whoever comes in. So we're
Excellent.
just here doing the work in the community.
Doing the work. And let me just say this, celebrating your 20th anniversary.
Yes. And the funny thing, and I'll stop talking because it's exciting to me, that because we work so hard and we're so busy in this space, 20 years went by me and I didn't even realize it until someone brought it to my attention earlier part of the year. This is your 20th year. You need to do something special. And I hadn't thought about that. And so we just have been working. So we decided to have a celebration, and we did that in March. But just to say that we just keep working. I don't think about the extra stuff. the
Right.
celebrations. I didn't think 20-year anniversary. It was no big deal to me. I knew it was another day that we
Mhm.
had to get something done. And so we just kept working. So
Right. And you know what? And it speaks to your passion, right? When time
yes, very much
flies
so.
like that, and then
Yes,
the work is great, right? It's a lot of
yes.
work out here to do. And so, what are your thoughts in reference to this last local election, that we just had Tuesday? How did it go, or what your thoughts are in reference to the voter turnout?
I mentioned that I have not really seen the actual numbers to know. I do know and I've heard that the numbers were not up there like they should have been.
Okay.
But I think with this being a first year for early voting, the changes in a permanent absentee ballot, um, and the changes in the presidential change that happened around about that same time threw everybody off. I think
Mhm.
there's, focusing between now and November, we have to do a whole lot of education. We have to do a whole lot of education. We have to do a whole lot of um, reaching out to our community to make
Yeah,
sure that they understand what's at stake.
yeah.
Um, we could have had some, things could have been a whole lot better had we pushed it a little bit more, but it takes all of us. I mean, we can
All
only do so much. We're one organization. We have a coalition of other organizations, but they're not as, right now, I don't think they're taking this election as serious for the primaries. Come November, we don't have room to mess up. That
yeah,
was like a dress rehearsal
right,
Tuesday. We got
right.
some action to do in November, so we got to make sure it happens.
True, true indeed. And wouldn't you say, without even having to say it, that it's obvious who the winner ought to be?
Hmm.
You know
Right,
what I mean? And so it should make it easier and not more difficult, but in reality, it is still difficult, right? To get people to the
right,
polls and understand what is, like you just stated, at stake.
right.
So, I want to ask you, since you said there is a lot of work, what other organizations have you partnered with to really get it out there? Like, hey, we need your participation, your way in, so that we can really make a strong turnout come November.
And we have worked with the churches. I tell anybody, as long as you are nonpartisan and you're willing to work, you can come in our door. You can
Mhm.
work with us. So we don't turn anybody away. We've partnered with the NAACP. We've partnered with the churches, particularly the Black churches, but we open our doors up to all the churches. We open with the Greek organizations, the sororities, fraternities, League of Women Voters, anybody that wants to come in our space and work with us as a nonpartisan organization, reaching out into those marginalized communities. Because you can't be afraid to do the work in the communities where we need to be. And so anybody that's willing to come in and not be afraid, they
Mhm.
can come with us and work with us because we're
Right.
not afraid of anything.
Not
Yeah.
afraid. And when you say that, there's so many organizations, people, individuals who may feel that there is something to be afraid of. How do you speak to that in terms of sharing their voices out here in the community and voicing really what they believe in and what they value? How difficult is that to share with others?
It sounds like it could be difficult, but it really isn't. All you have to do is have patience to start with, have the passion. And I say patience because some people need a little extra.
Yeah.
You have to have that will to sit and listen. It might take them a little longer to get their story out. They may have some challenges that may make it difficult for them to talk to you or uncomfortable, and you got to break that door, that wall between the two of you. We did a survey for over 100 people in this unhoused community, and some of the stories that we heard were just unbelievable, and they're heartbreaking. But and they felt so good just by having someone listen to them,
Yeah.
someone to take the time to hear their story. Because everybody that's out here, you may see them holding up these signs saying, "Help me, I need help, give me $1," whatever. But there's
Mhm.
a reason behind that. Some of
Yeah.
them have one reason that they can help, but there are others that need the help but don't know how to get it. And so
Mhm.
we're here to help them figure that part out. How do I get help? Where do I go for housing? It's one thing to get a housing application, but if you don't know how to fill it out, if you don't know how to send it in, then you're stuck with having an application and you're still in the same spot with no housing. And so we try to help those people with those kind of things, but you got to have a passion for it. You
Mhm.
can't be afraid to talk to people. You can't be afraid to reach out. And I would say in the community where we are, 90% of the people are people of color. If I'm afraid to talk to my own people, that's a problem. And
Yeah.
so you got to have that. You just have to have that passion for it. You have to have a
Right.
heart. If you're not doing it for the right reason, then you don't need to be doing it.
Right. Exactly. I was actually, I tapped someone, a local organization. I don't know if they, to have an event to really bring more clarification of what's happening in the political realm, and also to galvanize people, to help them to understand that there are people who look like us, who are excited, who want to see change, and we are putting our action where our mouth is. And unfortunately, I had some things happen, so I passed the baton to someone else to start to bring the people together who were going to speak and share with the different candidates and all this good stuff. But I don't know if they had it or not. But we still need more of those, because November is just around the corner for us to, let me say this, because it's on my heart right now.
Yeah.
We as a people, I think, this is just my opinion, this is Tish. Many people do not vote because they don't even know who to vote for and why should they be voting and who is this in office. And so when they do, those who do go to the polls, they just filling in whatever that makes sense, right? Democratic, so ticket. So I'm just help me or help us. What is the real? Uh-oh, we lost her. Oh my God. Family, we are back. Technical difficulties happen. We just got to keep rolling, keep pressing toward the mark. And it is our goal at My Family Empowerment Marketplace Monday to give you the information. And so we're going to keep going. But I want to ask an assignment from you. Please pray for me as I connect these videos. And you already know I had something happen last week. And so therefore, we're going to get it done now. No, we're going to continue. I left off on my thought in terms of what I see, my opinion, my thoughts in terms of why we as a community don't get out to the polls. One of those things is because we don't know enough. We're not confident in who we're voting for. We don't even know why, who, what, where, how we are voting. So, and then we don't have a trusted voice to really come into the community or is in the community that's willing to share what we need to know. Why is it important that we do vote? We already hear, voting is our right and those types of things. Yeah, we understand that. And then too, people who do get in office sometimes don't really represent us. We get it. But this is a new day, people. And we have to really galvanize together, get excited about, just what we bring to the table as a people, as a collective. Now, we do have some barriers, right? We do have challenges in terms of coming together as a people, but I want to see change, right? Dr. Martin Luther King, he said, we got to have change, right? And the change starts with us. And so I'm just praying that we have people step into this remnant, into this space, this political space and arena, to really set the standard in terms of what we can do here humanly, right? We know God is above everything, but I want to see change in ways that affect not only the political arena, but how we can muse, or I want to say join together the family process and thoughts of the people who are really out here trying to make a living, taking care of their families, but yet want to do their privilege, right? Honor their privilege in voting. But sometimes I see people, I'm not voting because so and so is in office. But it's not matter. It doesn't matter. We still have to get out here and exercise our vote. So my thing is, I think I said all that to say, is that we don't have any people really that we can trust out here. I mean, we got good people who speak a good word, present a good word, but how can we really make it so that families feel that their vote counts, their vote matters? I don't know. We're going to have to come up with some more creative ideas, Ms. Harris. be innovative in terms of changing or creating a revolution around voting to change the trajectory of where we're headed, where we once were. We don't do it like that. Just like the internet changes, we got AI now. How can we reinvent this voting process for our culture to understand that this is very important and that we should get out there?
A couple of things as you were talking, it just kind of I was all over the place with my thoughts. One of the main things that we have to do right now is listen to the young people. That 18 to 35-year age gap that everybody's complaining that we can't reach them, they're not voting. You know, we got to listen to what they're saying and bring them into the fold, bring them into the planning process. And that's what I was doing before this call, was talking to some young people and listening to what they're saying about what's important to them. And so when we're registered, try to get them registered first. And I always tell them that first step is getting registered. But we need to talk to them about why it's important to register to vote, because they don't think of it as important. We always talk about as older, this older generation talking about, how our ancestors were treated and the things that they fought for, the things that they went through to get us to gain that right to vote. Young people nowadays, they don't care about that. They're not listening to about, they don't want to hear about the dogs and the water hoses and that's important to us, but to them, they're talking to the police brutality, the guns, the drugs, all these things. So now we got to bring it back to their level and find out what it is that's important to them. So when I'm out doing my voter registration thing and I ask a young person, are you registered to vote? And they tell me, yeah, I'm registered. You can almost tell by their body language if they're really, really registered or not. So I use that as a way to generate that conversation. And I bring them back to me and we talk about it. What's important to you? If you have kids, the education, your kids are going to be going to school or your kids are in school. So let's have this conversation. And 9 times out of 10, you can get them to turn that conversation around. And by the time we get through with our conversation, I get them registered to vote. But it's one thing to get them registered, but we got to follow through. So now I got this young man registered. What's going to happen when it's election time? He's still not going to know who to vote for because he doesn't know the process. So we have another series of voter education. We go different places and we set up a table of information. And one of the displays that we have is a jar of jelly beans, that watermelon with the seeds inside, the questions that they used to ask back in the day when they had to pay poll taxes. And we asked them a question, how many seeds inside that watermelon? They look at me like I'm crazy. But that was a question back in the day that our people had to answer in order to gain the right to vote. You don't have to do that nowadays. All you have to do is sign this piece of paper. How many jelly beans in that jar? They're trying to eat the jelly beans. Oh, you can't eat my jelly beans. You just need to tell me how many inside. And so when you tell me how many jelly beans in this jar, if you got the correct answer, then you can vote. Well, I don't know the correct answer. There is no correct answer because I didn't count the jelly beans and neither did the other people. But those are the things that we have to talk to our young people about and get them to understand. No, they don't want to hear about those things, but that's reality. And bring that back home to something that they can relate to and get them. But we got to have patience. We can't just let them blow us off like that. We've got to stop because our young people learn from us.
Yep.
We're not trying to help them understand. Why should they care?
Yeah.
The other part of the as you were talking, I got to thinking, and this just happened to me yesterday. We've been having a weekly series of voting education series in jail. So a couple of us go out to the jails every week and we sit down with a group of inmates that want to talk to us about voting, and they leave it up to them if they want to come and talk to us or not. And some days we have no people, and some days, like last week, I think we had 20 people. So it just depends on how they feel in that day. But they come in and talk to us, and they said that they don't know what's going on. They don't know who's running. They don't know the people. So when they get released from jail or from prison, they automatically now in Michigan, since the 2022 Proposition 2, they automatically get registered to vote. So once they're released, they get registered to vote. But if you've been incarcerated for 20 years, you've been incarcerated for 20 months, you don't know who's who on the ballot. You don't know these people. Because when you're in jail, they can't communicate that information. Their way of communicating does not say, we got 4 people in Michigan in Grand Rapids running for mayor. and you need to select one of the four. If you just got out of prison, you registered to vote on site, and you got time to get an absentee ballot or to vote, and you go to the polls and you see four names, you don't know who these four people are.
Right.
You don't know who the mayor was 4 years ago because you were incarcerated or whatever. So we've got to find a way to educate those that are incarcerated, those that are being released. That's an internal problem that nobody, I guess, I don't know who, somebody had to have thought about that. But we got to find out how do we relate to them? How do we communicate with them?
Right.
Here in the unhoused community, those that have been incarcerated, now they're out, they're homeless. They've lost everything they had. They're staying in the shelter. They don't have a clue about this. I shouldn't say they don't have a clue because some of them do, but a lot of them don't have a clue of the process. You know, they don't understand who the mayor is, who the governor is, and they should though, but they don't. So now we've got to take the time to talk to them and listen to them. So that's the other important part: having the patience to talk to them and having that patience to listen and try to help them in both ways, because we're losing our people that way. And they don't know. So come November, they're gonna be like, I don't know who to vote for. I just heard, they be still looking for Biden on the ballot. Well, Biden's not on the ballot. Well, how come he ain't on the ballot? Well, he ain't on the ballot, so I ain't voting. Not knowing that there are two other people that you get to choose from, that you need to make some decisions. So you got to learn more about them between now and then. So we have to help our people that way. Our people are the lack of knowledge, and that's how we miss out on a whole lot of things.
Right. And ignoring the problem is especially not helping, because people will just ignore it like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, and that's the sad part about it. And this is why I'm saying, and I'm glad you stated, we have to reach the younger people because it's the next generation, right? We have to be able to share the importance. And also, I don't know, having the conversations at home, right? You said it starts at home, having the conversation of adding it to our value systems as a family, right? And starting them young. We talked about the finances things and how we have to, raise up the generation to understand finances and et cetera. To me, voter registration is right up there too.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I've never heard, now that I've said it, I've never heard anybody say, well, let's talk about it as a family, But I think that's what we need to do.
We have to. I got a 9-year-old grandson, and we don't talk about, he thinks this is all I do. It is all I do. And so what I'm doing, you need to learn what I'm doing. We need to talk about this. We have these conversations. We talk about who the president is and who the mayor is. And, so some of these people, he can run down to 9 years old where a 24-year-old may not know. Right. But it starts at home. You got to talk about it,
Right. And you don't never know who we're raising the next president, right?
It's a scary thought. 10 years from now, who's going to be our leaders? Even on local level. Some of these young people, you're at that age now. We got to rely on you to be running this country. And if you don't know, we're going to be in trouble. We're going to be in trouble anyway, but we got to start, we need to understand. You need to understand it's going to be you. We're doing all these things so that you can lead this country at some point.
Right. Now, do you think, because I do have some family members, one was a commissioner, and but I never seen a whole lot of conversation still. You get what I'm saying? So I think even the local politicians could start some type, blaze the trail locally, and have some forum other than going downtown, but in our community, right? Yes. And being intentional about getting families, not just individuals, families involved. And if we can get the men, if we can get the men, the women will follow.
You're right.
You know what I mean? If we men,
you are absolutely correct.
So let me ask you this. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, back in the day, a lot of families relied on the church and what came from the pulpit. Nowadays, 2024 is not the same. Those traditional churches no longer exist.
Right.
There are very few traditional pastors. Those that are here, we got some of the younger ones with that old mindset, that old traditional mindset, and they talk to their parishioners. But some of the other ones nowadays, it's like I probably shouldn't say this. I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but church to me, for some people, is like a business. And I got to be careful how I say this, but some of these pastors are not there for the right reason. They say some people were called. Everybody wasn't called. But some of those people that are there in the pulpit, they're not teaching their members about this and how important the election process is. Now, you can draw that line between church and state. You know how far you can go, but that basic information applies to everybody.
Yeah.
And you need to be talking to your members about voting and getting it
Right.
out there. I know some churches never mention voting, or may have said, make sure you vote and left it at that. But you've got to go a little bit further nowadays because we got a different generation in church that we need to have this real
Right.
conversation of why you need to vote, why it's important for you to vote. They're still
True.
not telling you who to vote for. And it
Right.
doesn't matter who you vote for. Just know and understand the importance of your democracy and that you have to
Mhm.
get that out to your members. And that's one of the things
Right.
that we struggle with right now, and I'm working on it. But we've got to get the churches more involved because a lot of people rely on the churches coming from the pulpit, that pastor, you
Mhm.
know.
Right. And I can go on and on when you talks about the church because really, you know, in my opinion, the church is really what who helps us educate the family, right? So if
Yes.
if if the families are in right relationship with Christ, they're attending church services, they're
Mhm.
getting a good word, and they're also getting what needs to be done practical, right?
Mhm.
That means including the discussion about voting. I know some churches may shy away from it because of the government's involvement in terms of financially stewardship, right?
Right.
Uh, and we get that part, right? So there are limitations. However, and I am in total agreement when you say that there's still a certain level of education we still have to share with our congregations. So I know some churches actually have ministries that are political. They're political ministries, right?
Mhm.
So if we can get more churches doing that, right?
Okay.
If we can get more churches involved in that. But some people say, well, I don't want to involve church and state. But you know what? We don't have any choice. If we're not getting it from, the families are not getting it at home or wherever they work or what have you, we as a church have to be the educators in this area. Um, and it's not always easy. So we have to be able to, actually, we got to know our people. If you are
People.
leading a congregation of people, you got to know your people. So then, because when we are teaching our congregations what's right, what's honorable before the Lord, they're going to make the right decisions based on the information that has been shared about these different options that are on the ballot, right?
Yes.
That comes naturally. But as you stated, we do need more involvement with the church, just like a few other things that I can come up with right now. you know, and
I
so
understand.
and we have to do our part too as parishioners, to reach out to the neighbor next door. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing? We're going down here to vote. What you doing? And I'm guilty because I waited to the last minute on Tuesday to go down. Well, I won't say the last minute. It was about 6 o'clock or something like that. And I had to ask myself when I got through voting, why didn't I ask somebody else did they vote, come down with me had they not voted, right?
Right.
I didn't do my part. So I'm gonna take onus in mine, right? But I do ask people, did you vote? But in terms of actually when someone's saying that they didn't vote, Tish, you could have offered a ride. You know what I mean? Let's go down to
Mhm.
the polls together.
Yes.
So, and it's not like this happens all the time, right? So we have specific times of the year, every 4 years, So I'm gonna try to do a better job in November, right? Just to make sure that people that's on my list in my phone, right? Who was
Yeah.
in my phone? Let me dial everybody. I'm just giving us, the audience and some ideas of how we can get involved, especially in November. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I want to talk more, just a few more minutes about your business. I know we have been all over the place with voting, but I um, want people to know more about the programs. Can I get it out?
Okay.
Programs that you offer, because I know there's a variety of different things. Because you've been on boards of everything, And so I was reading the bio. I was on the website and I was checking out. You do a tour with the kids, HBCUs. I'm like, this woman is all over the place. She is for the people. She don't just talk it, she walks it. And so if you don't mind just sharing just a few more things that you would like the people to know about your organization, that would be perfect.
Okay. Well, you mentioned the college tours. I did that for 10 years and I really missed it, but I decided to step away for a little bit. But when I did that, the young people really missed out because we didn't take just a tour. It wasn't just go to one college, get on the bus, get off the bus, stay at a hotel, have fun. We
Mhm.
put a lot into it. So it was like going to school on a bus for a
Wow.
week. I did that for 10 years. We went to HBCUs. I will be getting back into that once I get through this election cycle, that I can focus more on planning and getting it right again and starting that up. As I mentioned earlier about every day is a different day in this office,
Mhm.
we started in 2020 with COVID hit and
Mm.
we worked from home. That was during the census time. So I was a coordinator for the city of Grand Rapids, coordinating the community efforts for the census. So they needed somebody to help find those places that were not, I'll say normal for lack of a better word.
Mhm.
Those communities, those organizations that they didn't know about, the city didn't know about. No one knew how to find the people of color. So Kathi knew how to find some folks, and one thing led to another. And so we were able to reach out to as many communities as I could find. And with that, I networked with a lot of people, a lot of interesting people. I met a lot of great people that way. And from that, I just kind of kept it going. But we worked with the census. We
Mm.
shared information. We had events. And then with that, I was on committees because COVID, we were meeting every week talking about the changes, the ups and downs with COVID, which led me to being a part of the health department and being on a committee with the health department. So they asked me to be a part of the Health Equity Council. And that led to me being involved with other committees and meeting other people. So with that, saying all that, we started giving out water filters. The
Mm.
county had a special grant that they were distributing water filters because of the potential lead in the pipes in different parts of the city, particularly
Mhm.
those marginalized communities.
Yeah.
And they would have them in places like DHS or the health department. Well, if you didn't have to go there for a reason, you wouldn't get a water filter, but yet you lived in that neighborhood where
Right.
there was a problem. So we said we can help do that. So we created events. We got water filters from the health department. We've distributed over 2,000 water filters.
Wow.
And then they ran out of filters. So now we're trying to figure out where they are so we can get them back and continue doing that because our people, those communities of color, didn't know about it. A lot of them didn't. And so
Mhm.
we made sure they had the filters. We have democracy block parties, which we
Wow.
go in neighborhoods. We're trying to reach out to as many precincts as we can. Right now, we've identified 47 precincts. I know I'm not going to do 47 block parties, but we are trying to go in neighborhoods where we can have a democracy party. We have tables of information about voting, voting education information. And we also open it up to community other resources. So there's resources that may not be known to some of these communities because they don't go into these communities. We have them on streets in the community. We had a family that wanted to host one on Dunham Street. So we had a really
Mm.
great turnout on Dunham Street. We were on Oakdale Street. We had them at Hartside Park. We did it over at the recycling center. I tried to have it in as many precincts that we can get in and have them in the parking lot or on the street. And that's something we're going to be doing from now until November. I met with
Okay.
a union the other day, and they want to have one of their union hall. So we're going to do one, and it happens to be one of our neighborhoods. So we're going to do it in that area. We do the voter registration. We partner with a lot of other events. It doesn't make
Okay.
sense to reinvent the wheel. So when the other events are out there, we'll go set up a table and do our thing at the table with the voter registration. We give food. We
Wow.
sit out in front of our office. Our office is located at 347 South Division. So from time to time, we'll decide one day we're going to give out hot dogs. So people walking up and down the street, you can have hot dogs. You can have food, whatever we have. We had walking tacos one day. We grilled hamburgers. We did a barber, what do we call it? Barber burgers and ballads.
Oh,
Where
wow.
we had, so we gave away free haircuts. We gave away hamburgers, and we talked about voting. We talked about that ballot.
I love it.
We have a makeshift. Well, it's actually a ballot box from the city. The city clerk gave this to us so we can have people stand there and know how to vote. So in our office, we have that there where they can take an actual ballot, We had a
Yeah.
sample ballot, and they can see how you color in the bubbles and what to look for and how you flip it over and go from the top to the bottom and the back to the front. Um,
Okay.
we make sure that's just our way of educating the community.
Hmm.
We have events here. We had for Mother's Day. Last year for Mother's Day, we did we had the kids come in and plant flowers for their mothers. How many mothers that are unhoused,
Hmm.
are in situations, get a Mother's Day present? So we had the
Right.
kids come in and plant flowers, decorate their little pot. We had dirt all over the place, but they had fun doing it. And then we had ice cream social. So that was a time for the mothers and the kids to bond, but also
Yeah.
something positive. We had a fish fry for Father's Day. And also we have somebody come in to talk to them. So our fish day, we had catfish and spaghetti. Oh my God. They all you can eat. So they loved it.
I
Um,
know they did.
we fried the fish here. I think we had like 30 pounds of fish and we gave it all away. And all the spaghetti, and they came and ate. And we had a doctor here to talk about men's health.
Oh wow.
We do mental health workshops. We had a food workshop on healthy foods. So we just try to do things that are non-traditional. Any and everybody, we, just sit out in front and catch the people in the neighborhood. They don't have those kind of things around here.
Yeah.
We give away clothes. We put a couple tables out from time to time and put stuff off there and say, take it. We don't care.
Mhm.
We had a resource fair on the inside of the office. We had 10 different, in this small space, 10
Wow.
different organizations come in and everybody had something. And so we gave away the food, we gave away the information, we had housing resource. We have a young man that came in on a regular basis that would help fill out the applications, help get them mailed where they need to go. We just do things. Somebody come up with a bright idea, and I figure out how we can make it happen. And so we
Mhm.
stay busy every day. We're doing busy. So you see the people behind me; they're working on packets. We put literature together. We've distributed so far over I think we're at 20,000 now, 20,000
Wow.
plus information on voting to
Mhm.
households. Those precincts that I identified as the ones that we're working on, we put packets of information. So we made sure we got the voting, the permanent absentee ballot, the early voting, the drop boxes where you put the ballots in. Any
Yeah.
information on voting, we put it
Yeah.
in a packet and we hang it on the doors. Any information from the community that they want to add to it, as long as it's nonpartisan information,
Mhm.
now we put it in the packets. And we
Mhm.
take it around every morning. We got a group of young men that's been going out doing at least 1,000 a day.
Yeah.
And so today they did 1350. They told me so. It's gonna get more. We're gonna do more as we get closer to November. But we
Mhm.
just keep that information out there. We're gonna keep pumping information as much as we can in whatever way we can to the community. So
Right.
we just trying to do what we do. We have a Souls to the Polls that's coming up, but this year with the early voting, we're gonna have to do a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Grand Rapids had not had it. I think this will be our fourth one, maybe fifth one now.
Okay.
But when we started this for the first time in Grand Rapids, they thought it was a great big deal. But it is known in the South.
Oh.
It's known in Detroit. But for Grand Rapids, it
Mhm.
was something special. They thought it was like, oh my God, here we go. They were all excited. So we made a big deal out of it at the city hall. We had them open up the city hall. At that time, our clerk was Darlene O'Neill, and she was so happy to open up. She's gracious enough to have her staff there all
Mhm.
day, and we had food. We had the fried chicken and greens, and we had the Sunday dinner on a
Yeah.
Sunday, and they opened it up, and everybody came to vote. We had over 300-400 people show up that time, and so every year we do this now. So this
Wow.
year being early voting, we're gonna have to do a little bit differently and have it at one of the early voting sites. I
Mhm.
had a call earlier today about the party at the polls, so that's what we're gonna do this year.
Okay.
So the 27th, I believe it is, of October, that's when
Mhm.
we're gonna have our souls to the polls. We're gonna have to call it something different, but that's what it's gonna be. And we're gonna
Mhm.
work with the churches and trying to get people there from the churches. So we just try to do things a little differently, make it
Right.
fun, but yet make it make sense. We
Yeah.
had a block party down at the homeless shelter. Um, that we had over 200 people. The first one that we ever had, a democracy block party, we had over 200 people come through there. The
Wow.
people that are there, I mean, they don't get that information. They go get out, they get put out of the shelters every morning, and then they have
Mhm.
nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So they have all day. They sit around outside the building. It's really sad. And then
Mhm.
at the end of the day, they have to go back in. So what do you do during that middle section? During that time you get put out, the time you have to go back in,
Right.
we try to have something. And so we had the Democracy Party at the time. We had all kinds of activities. They turned out. They really appreciate us being there. So we have to do that again. We just try to stay busy, just try to do things that make sense.
Right. I love all the things that you all are doing, man. So they don't have anyone who wants to participate in terms of receive some of the things that you offer, the resources you offer. Is there any type of enrollment program or they just show up?
They just show up.
Okay.
Enrollment. We don't have any kind of enrollment program. They don't. Most times we just have them sign in if they come to the building. But
Okay.
for the most part, we don't care. I don't want to draw any lines for anyone to think that if I did this, I can only do it if I did this. We
Hmm.
just want them to be able to do
Right.
it. And I always tell people that if you're trying to help yourself, then I'll try to help you. But if you're
Hmm.
not trying to help you, I'm not wasting my time. And so we've helped people with jobs. We've helped them with transportation. They
Hmm.
may come in and ask if I can have a bus pass. We'll give them a bus pass, um, or provide them for them, or the wave cards or whatever they have. If we can help them, we'll do that. But we don't want to have any barriers around it. I mean, they have enough barriers, and that's when I say I do enough to stay out of trouble because I
Right.
can't follow all the rules. If you know, being a part of the shelter here is one thing, and so when they leave out in the morning, they
Yeah.
have rules, but
Yeah.
they don't enforce it until they want to. So it's
Right.
not like they're fair with everybody. It's not
Hmm.
like that it's an equal opportunity for the people that are out there in the street. And it's really sad. So we just tell them, if we can help you, we'll help you. Just come here, stop by and see us. I just ask you every now and then, just come back.
Yeah.
Come back and say I'm doing something positive, or I've turned my life around, or you
Hmm.
know,
Right.
whatever we can do. I just want
Right.
to make an impact.
Yeah. So you mentioned one event because I'm going to ask you what events that you have coming up. So you mentioned social polls or maybe name something different. October 27th. Is there anything else that's coming up that people can look for?
On Sundays. Now I'm working on my calendar now. On the 20, we just set these dates today and got the approval for August 25th, September 29th, and October 20th. We're having Sunday fun days.
Oh,
We're having this we open up to all ages, but we're focusing in on an 18 to 35-year-old group.
okay. Mhm.
At the Four-Star Theater on Division, and I don't know the address right off the top of my head,
Mhm.
but it's near Division and Hall, near Division and Burton.
Okay.
It used to be the old theater. Well, on the inside, they're renovating it and opening up for entertainment. And
Okay.
so we try to do something positive for that young group to get them engaged, to get them to come
Right.
in, register to vote, talk about some voting. There's some
Yeah.
gaming going on, which I don't understand. We'll have some entertainment, which most times I can't understand what they're saying, but they do. They understand each other. So
Right.
I'm just there. I'm like the oldest person in the room, so I'm just there. So I got my voter registration papers and ready to go. That's all I need. The rest of
That's
it,
fine.
but we have the food and the music just to bring them in. So those 3 days have been set. We are working on a party to the polls, which I know I've got to do 4 early voting sites.
Mhm.
In fact, we just had 2 last weekend, and for the first time. So now we know what we have to do coming up. Where
Okay.
we have a party in the parking lot for
Mm.
voting, get people to come in.
Yeah.
Um, I got a calendar behind me. We got events coming up. We go to the shelters. We're going to be distributing the water filters again.
Okay.
Um, I don't know, right off the top of my head.
That's okay.
We always have stuff going. It's just,
Okay.
I don't know, right? Those things I know we're going to do because I just talked about them recently. But
Okay.
we're going to be out there doing it continually
Right.
with our canvassing, partnering with the other organizations. I'm trying to get with the churches and the community leaders, particularly the Black leaders in Grand Rapids, so we can figure out what it is we need to do to make this happen and how do we get their involvement. So we'll be really pushing that.
Okay. So what do you need, Miss Kathy? Is there anything, any donations? What do you need to keep going? You know what I mean? Some things that
Funding is always the number one thing for me. And I'll say this: all money is not good money, right?
Mhm.
So when we need as bad as we need money.
Mhm.
I do not want monies where we have to have stipulations, particularly like when we help in the housing.
Mhm.
I want it to be able to help whoever we help.
Okay.
That's one source of funding. But the other source of funding with the voter registration, voter education piece, we need all funding because I need volunteers to get out. We have to feed them. We have to give them something for the work. We have to have the printing. We have to have the materials to do the work. And so we have to pay gas. And so, if I get funding to help with that, that's awesome. I really, really need that. Last year I had 253, last election cycle, I had 253 volunteers. I didn't realize that we went through that many volunteers. So I'm working on increasing my numbers this year so that we can get started and push the numbers out. We reached over through 889,000 doors. Um, and we talked to over 300. We made it with our phone banking. We did over 325 attempts of reaching out to phone calls, reaching out to the community. So I have to beat that number this year. This is a bigger election, so my goal is to exceed those numbers, and so I'm working on doing that now.
All right.
One of the things too that I forgot to mention that we're doing is working on election day. And so funding would help leading up to election day and working on election day. We have our team, our outreach team. We monitor the polls. We have the 47 precincts that we have to have people covering those and watching what's going on. This year is going to be critical. The games are going to be played. And so we want to make sure that we're ready for it. And so we'll need people to cover the volunteers to cover the polls as challengers. We'll need poll watchers. That way we have people outside the polls and people on the inside of the polls. And then we have a team that go around, a kind of a roving team to monitor and keep up on top of what's going on, along with our election protection team of lawyers and law students and the legal field to help us with our election protection piece. So that and we all work together so that when there's something going on at the polls, we can get a hold of our election protection team and they take care of the problem for us. So we've had that operation all this time, but I know this year is going to be more serious. And so, every year, every election cycle, we say this is going to be a do or die election. Election area. And then it gets worse. So now I don't know what to call it this time other than we got to be ready.
Right.
You know as well as I know, we got to be ready.
Right.
So
Exactly.
working on that. And the trainings in between, now and then that'll have to take place with the things that's going on.
Right.
So,
Well, I am so excited. I'm so grateful too for you to just share some of your time today with us because we need more conversations like this, right? Geared around this, things that's going to move us forward, not only as a people, but as a culture. And then, setting an example for the next generation,
okay.
right?
Yes.
How critical is that? So
Yes.
is there any parting words? I'm going to have you back, especially when we have this upcoming, November is coming. It's
Yes.
coming, no matter we wanted to do or not.
Yes.
Any parting words?
First, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to want to talk to me. I appreciate the time. We haven't had much media involvement, which is important. And I'm kind of wondering why. Because that's huge to get this word out, get the message out, and to let people know that we are doing this work in the community. We haven't had that. So thank you for doing that. But my parting words is we need to reach everybody. And as I say in the community, I don't care who you vote for. I just need you to vote. Yeah. But you can't vote if you're not registered. We got to start with the first step. Get registered. It's important. And I did mention this earlier about checking your voter registration. Because of COVID, in 2020, everyone received an absentee ballot. If you did not fill that ballot out or accept it, it was returned back to the Secretary of State's office. When it was returned back to the Secretary of State's office, the list that they compiled from that was on a canceled voters list. That information was sent to all the clerks for them to kind of check through and see if we could take some of these names off. But of course, they may not have caught all the names. There's still maybe names on that canceled voters list that, for whatever reason, just didn't get changed. Maybe the person moved, maybe the person passed away, whatever. Your name could be on that canceled voters list. So I'm telling everybody, including your audience, to go to Michigan Voice Information Center, MVIC, and check your voter registration status to make sure that you're still on the list.
Check status. Okay.
Or michigan.gov/vote. Either way, it'll take you to the same page.
Okay.
They need to do that because we mailed out 20,000 pieces of literature back then. To those, we took a percentage of the list, and I think we did 20,000. We sent it to those residents. I did not get very many of those coming back undeliverable. So I can only assume that they went to where they were supposed to go.
Right.
We asked the people to, if you check your name, check the list. If it's not there, here's an application for you to fill out. Send it into the clerk so that you can re-register yourself. Right. Or if your name is there, you can go. Anybody can go on that list. Go on the website to check your status.
Yeah.
That needs to happen because we want to make sure that everybody registered to vote. If you have not voted in the past 2 general elections, past 2 presidential elections, or like people always tell me, I voted for President Obama. If you haven't voted for since President Obama, check your voting status
Yeah.
and make sure that you're still registered. If not, you need to get registered.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good advice.
Yes. So thank you very much. It's really important that we do this. Keep this going. I'd love to talk to you again. This was
Yeah.
fun.
I know it was fun, even with all the
Yes.
challenges I've had. So you got to pray with me that I get this connected.
It'll work. It'll
Or it
work.
might be a part 1 and part 2. I don't know, but I'm trying to figure it out. So the next time we come, we'll be good to go.
All right.
But anything can happen. This is why we got to keep going, right?
That's how we learn. You now you know what you now you got to figure it out or what to do next. So
right. I mean, and then too, we got to know the enemy don't want us to really communicate like this, right? They don't want us to, because there's more power in us working together than us apart.
Right, exactly.
And we have to understand that it's people and the adversary do not want it. So it's going to be all kind of craziness happening, just like we're going to see. And guess what? The devil is defeated at all costs. So people, thank you so much for tuning in for this Marketplace Monday with My Family Empowered. My name is Tisha. I'm so very grateful. And I'm hoping that you who are watching get something out of this. We will see more of Miss Kathi Harris because she's an amazing woman of God and knows a whole lot. So we want to pull on her as one of our trusted.
I'm here.
Amen. So on that note, she left. She got lost again. So we're done. God bless you. Have an amazing day. Love you.